Age. Age is something that we, along with almost, if not everything else in the world, experience. Take a look around your room, right now. Everything in that room ages in some way, shape, or form. The paint on the wall chips and fades, the parts in the TV deteriorate over time, the metal that makes up your bed frame will slowly rust more and more, food will spoil. It's called time, and the worst thing about it is that it keeps on ticking. However, there are some things that actually benefit from age and the constant, unstoppable, foreboding, unforgiving march of time, and actually positively progress due to age. Things like cheese, a little bit of camembert, some aged cheddar, wine. My mom likes some wine herself. Retro cars, I would say, at least in the looks department. Even us humans benefit a fair amount from aging. We get more experienced, more intelligent, stronger, faster, just overall better for the most part. Until we get too old, that is. Now, it's kind of obvious where I'm going with this. Video games. Every gamer knows games age, but not in the way that some other things may age. While other things may deteriorate or wilt or die, games more so age because the medium that is gaming just becomes more advanced, more technologically improved, overall, just better. Let's use cars as a comparison, more specifically a 98 Toyota Corolla, why not? Over the years, Toyota does what any company with a yearly release product would do, and that's improve said product. The Corolla gets more powerful, smoother to ride, better quality, stuff like that. Same with video games. Does that make the 98 Toyota Corolla a bad car now? No, it's still fine. I'd kill for one myself. It's ridiculous. You could put vegetable oil in the gas tank and it'll get you 20 miles up the road. It's aged, yes, but there's still warrant to wanting and owning one in today's world, and the same applies to video games. Except, video games advance so quickly that games made yesteryear often find themselves aging faster than most stuff in this world. I mean, we went from this to this in a little over 20 years. That's insane. And it's not just visuals, controls, innovation, gameplay, standards. It's all been improved in the gaming world, for better or for worse, you may ask. Well, that's another argument for another time. There are dozens of games that you could beg the question on whether or not they've aged well. The aforementioned Mario 64, Ocarina of Time, Pokemon Red Blue, Crash Bandicoot, but today, the game I want to focus on is one that I've only just recently completed. So I asked the question, has Sonic Adventure aged well? Well, let's find out. To answer that question more thoroughly, though, let's briefly go over the game as a whole. Sonic Adventure came out for the Sega Dreamcast on December 23rd, 1998, perfect for a Christmas release, and came out on the Nintendo GameCube on June 18th, 2003, which is the version we'll be looking at as it is the one I played. The game is noted for being the first true, I'll say again, true, one more time in case you didn't hear me, true 3D Sonic game, and for that reason, a fair amount of people were hyped for it. The game had you take control of 6 characters, each with their own different playstyles. Check out this video I made if you want to see what I think about that. Each character goes through different sets of stages, with Sonic running and jumping, Tails racing, Knuckles emerald hunting, Amy fleeing from Zero, E102 Gamma going on a complete warpath of destruction, Jesus Christ, and Big goes fishing. Great! Each character experiencing their own story until eventually all coming together in the end with a climactic last story, and I do mean climactic, I mean, oh my god! And speaking of said story, it's not bad. Each character has their own separate story. Sonic and Tails are stopping Eggman, Knuckles is trying to restore the Master Emerald, Amy is trying to reunite a bird with its family, Gamma is hunting down his robotic brothers in order to destroy them, and eventually himself to free the birds trapped inside. I'm so sorry. And Big is trying to catch Froggy. Overall, the game is slightly above competent. Don't get me wrong, I had fun with the game. Sonic, Tails, and Knuckles all had very enjoyable stages, and while I didn't have as much fun with the other 3 characters, Amy and Gamma still had good qualities, such as classic platforming in Amy's case, and an intriguing story in Gamma's case, and after figuring out that in order to catch Froggy, you have to point the joystick downward in order to get a hit on him, something the game doesn't tell you, his stages were over rather quickly, so they were largely inoffensive. But that was just a brief overview of the game. That doesn't really equate to whether or not the game aged well, because average games age the same way any other games age for the most part. So let's actually get into it, and we'll start off with the good stuff. And the first good thing in particular that I want to bring attention to is the controls. These controls were great. I may have only enjoyed a little more than half of this game overall, but one thing that was consistently not just good, but outright fantastic across all characters was the control. Each character had a great weight to them, which made traversing the levels and hub world a breeze because they're both accommodated for them. The hub worlds are plenty open to move around freely without constantly having to stop due to walls, and the levels are often the same. Even when the game decides to shove the player down a narrow corridor or hall, you won't get caught on the sides. The characters will just kind of slide along, keeping the speed and pace going. It's amazingly executed. And once again, this is the first true 3D Sonic game, so the fact that they got it this right off the bat is deserving of all the praise in the world. Speaking of the levels, let's talk a bit more about those as well. The levels of more modern Sonic games, the ones after 06, are drastically different from the levels that were designed for this game and others such as SA2, Heroes, and as said before, 06. So how do SA1's levels compare? Once again, they hold up very well. They're pretty diverse in looks and set pieces, so there's plenty of change up when going through the levels. Let's look at Sonic's to get more into specifics, since he is the most prominent character in the game. Each level has a fair amount of actual platforming sections, open-ended areas, and automated sequences, so you're always getting shown something new and exciting to tackle head-on. The first level is the perfect example. You got plenty of spaces to run around and get your speed going. You got some platform-heavy areas that are meant to slow you down and give the level some extra depth, and that whale chase, chef's kiss, it's amazing. Tails' levels are basically the same, just shorter. Knuckles' levels are quite open-ended, and the radar works perfectly, unlike SA2. Amy and Gamma are a lot more platform-heavy, so it can be argued as a nice change of pace from the high speed and exploration of the main three, and I'm done talking about Big the Cat. No more. Please. Please. These levels have aged phenomenally, as they're still fun to run through today, and a part of me would argue they're structured better than a lot of levels in the modern Sonic games. But let's not get into that. Instead, let's get into the parts of this game that have aged horribly, starting with the camera. Oh, sweet Lord. So nowadays, camera controls in a video game are pretty much guaranteed to be good. You're given free range of movement, it'll maneuver around objects instead of getting stuck on them, it won't clip through anything or spaz out. Sonic Adventure follows these conventions the same way an old lady with Alzheimer's remembers what they had for breakfast that morning. They don't. You can only move it left or right, and if it's in a tight corridor, forget about it. That baby is getting on a wall no matter what, and it'll glitch like it was coded the day before release. I'm serious. This whole game is pretty glitchy. That's another thing that has not aged well, and while I didn't encounter any myself, it wouldn't take you that long to find some bugs in the game. These two factors can make for a dastardly combination, as the aforementioned poor camera can lead to encountering the aforementioned glitches. Y'all want to talk about iconic duos in gaming? Look no further than Sonic Adventure's camera and shoddy programming. It's Hall of Fame worthy. But moving on to another poorly aged aspect of Sonic Adventure, the cutscenes. Oh man, the cutscenes. This game, more specifically the DX port, looks like plastic. The characters' expressions are horribly over-animated, the voice acting is subpar at best, and the directing for some of these cutscenes, man, just take a look.
You're not the only one on a wild goose chase, idiot! Why should I ruin your surprise?
It's pretty bad. I can't even really explain it more than I already have. Actions speak louder than words here, and these actions, oh boy. I can't express how hilariously awful the visuals and voice acting have aged in this game, because it almost comes off as a parody of itself. Like, it realizes that a blue talking hedgehog fighting his sworn enemy in an evil doctor that is literally shaped like what chickens crap out is extremely stupid, and it just rolls with it. Is it even fair to have this be a fault towards the game? It makes it 10 times better. honestly, because it's just so dumb looking, and combined with the voice acting, it makes it even better. Okay, while it may be funny, at the end of the day, this aspect of the game aged like bread left out in the sun for a week. Whether you ironically enjoy it or not, that's just how it is. So, in conclusion, has Sonic Adventure aged well? I really want to say yes and no, because that really is how this game has turned out. It is aged both beautifully and poorly, like a man that was born in the 40s, wise beyond his years, gentle and rugged for his age, but he was born in the 40s, so he's probably racist and homophobic, and thinks women are only good for bearing children and belong in the kitchen. That's what Sonic Adventure is like right here. But at the same time, that is such a cop-out answer, just picking both sides and being like, oh, it's up for the player to decide. I don't want to do that, so let me give y'all a definitive answer. So I ask one more time, has Sonic Adventure aged well? Yes. I believe that it's because the game aged well in the ways that matter more, those ways being the aforementioned control and level design, because despite the original game coming out 24 years ago as of today, it controls beautifully and the levels are plenty fun to boot. When it comes to the poorly aged aspects of Sonic Adventure, visuals don't make a game, and while it is glitchy and the camera is extremely dated, you won't encounter glitches for the most part unless you go looking for them. I didn't encounter any at all, and the camera only gave me issues a handful of times and was never prominent enough to take away my enjoyment of the game as a whole. I can remember one occasion where it was a nuisance, and that's really it. And that is why Sonic Adventure has aged pretty well in my opinion. Do you agree or not? Let me know in the comments below, but with that all said, I'm Easily Easy. Sorry this took about 2 weeks to get out, and I'll see you next time.